So my question is, how will pollution and climate change affect like some ecological niches and some animals that function to help something in the environment?
Yeah.
And would some animals become overpopulated?
Well, I'll answer the first part of that question and I'll give it to Michael. So as far as I know, some animals or microbes actually like warmer weather and wetter weather. But the thing is, our ecosystem is very fragile. It has a very delicate balance. If one species is too much, the other species might not like it. So in fact, lots of frogs are dying because a kind of fungus, a kind of microorganism, start occupying colder places. So frogs who live up on the mountains where it used to be colder, all of a sudden they have these microbe, messing around, so lots of frogs are dying. Frogs are an amphibian, are entering extinction because of climate change.
Yeah, this is a good question, and I'm going to give you an answer that is going to be slightly unsatisfactory, because science doesn't have definite answers, right? Science is really about asking what are the probabilities of some event. So I think a case study that sort of speaks to your question is that of polar bears and grizzly bears. So as you know, polar bears live in the Arctic, it's far colder, and grizzly bears have a pretty big range, but they don't generally occupy the Arctic, right? And that's because all animals have thresholds, right? So imagine you may not know the actual number, but you know when you're too cold, right, and you want the temperature to be warmer. And you also know when you're too hot and you'd like the temperature to be colder. And those are your thresholds, and animals have that as well, as a species. So what we do know is that the polar bears are now venturing farther and farther away from the ice in order to find food, and they're entering the range of the grizzly bears. And so scientists have asked the question, well, what's going to happen when polar bears and grizzly bears meet? Does it mean that are polar bears going to outcompete grizzly bears, that is, push grizzly bears out of their range? Are grizzly bears going to push polar bears out of their range? Are they going to share? We actually don't really know the question to that. We do know polar bears and grizzly bears can have babies together, which is a surprise. So maybe what's going to happen is that we're just going to get a new species, which some people call pizzlies. We're just going to get a new species, and polar bear and grizzly bears generally are not going to exist far into the future. There are really three possibilities, or two possibilities, right? Is that one is some organisms will be pushed out of their niche. Some organisms will actually end up sharing space with other organisms. But the important thing to think about in terms of that question is, what is the result of that, particularly in terms of humans on Earth? And that is to say that it's not good or bad. This is going to kind of sound a little strange, but it's not good or bad that ecosystems change. That's a moral question. It's not good or bad, it's just change. The only reason we think about good or bad when we think about ecosystem change is because we are concerned about we're concerned about human survivability on Earth. So when ecosystems change and animals move around, that becomes bad for humans. So that is, if we have more polar bears hanging around urban areas, that might be bad for people, right? So that's a reason we think about these kinds of changes. But remember, animals they're not thinking about morals, they're just trying to survive.
Well, thank you. I think we have to wrap up our question and answer session. But thank you for such wonderful information. And maybe over to Principal Collins.
Thank you again to everyone that made this program possible. And I want to sum up today's assembly with a challenge to all of you. As you know, our theme this year is imagination. So I hope that you will all go home and in school and imagine a cleaner world, a greener world, a world that's more sustainable, but it can only happen through you. So as you go home over the weekend, think about things you can do. Imagine things you can do to make this world a greener, more sustainable, more conservative place. Have a great weekend.